Hey girl.
Hey mama.
Ready to get unschooled?
Totally.
Welcome to Mom's Unschooled,
where we break down all the things from the mundane to the magnificent, so you can think for yourself and do what's right for you.
Hey Erin.
Hey Sarah.
Do you like being a mom?
Yeah, I do.
I think we need to get unschooled about that though, because I don't believe that because you're a mother, therefore means you like being a mother.
Indeed. I mean, I don't like being a mother all the time. Generally speaking, I like it, but I could see how there could be some good days and bad days.
I was walking with a friend the other day and they mentioned that they were talking to someone who said how much they miss their kids while they were at school and they don't know what to do without them. And my friend replied with, well, there's several things I can think of I would like to do without my children. And she was honest enough to say, if I never had them, I think my life I would have found something purposeful and meaningful to do with my life. And I so much appreciated that she said that, because I think there's a taboo around how could you have some grand, meaningful life if you were not a mother as part of your experience here on this planet. So I started to research the topic a little bit, and I found two very impactful articles about this idea of not enjoying motherhood. I want to read a little bit from the first one. That's from Psychology Today by Carrie Barron, who's a doctor, and she is a clinical psychologist, and she tells this story about this woman who came into her office. She said, "I do not like being a mother. This is what my client Dee Dee told me yesterday. After she said, I do not like being a mother, she said, I never did and I feel really guilty." She writes, Dee Dee is worried that she's not cut out for the job of motherhood. The crying makes her tense. The tedium makes her depressed. She also suffered from postpartum depression, but that was 8 years ago. What I cannot figure out, says Dee Dee, is why or how this is supposed to be enjoyable. It makes no sense that you spend your life trying to get them, kids, to brush their teeth, pick up their clothes, do their homework, practice, get out of bed, and stop fighting when this simply is not what they want to do. The biggest point in her sharing her struggle is that as a mother, something is not working for her. The author writes that Dee Dee explained, I hide what I do, sitting alone in my car crying, taking a nap but not being able to relax, surfing the internet for stupid stuff, spying on other people's lives and feeling envious because they have a nicer house, better friends, better style. This is screwed up. What was supposed to happen? I do adore my children, so why do I feel the way that I do? I feel guilty just telling you this. You need to go ahead and fire me as a patient. The thing is that I look at moms that work and I see their stress. The stress of being someone and doing something that matters outside of the home. What's your initial reaction to that? Have you heard this from any of your friends before? What if that was one of your friends who was talking to you about this?
Poor Dee Dee.
She had to change her name, obviously, but because...
Right, because we don't talk about this stuff.
That's the problem.
Let's face it, I feel like I live quite the charmed life. My family is happy and healthy. I am thankful for that every day, and I do generally like being a mom, but we have all been there before. And no, I don't think feeling that way is normal by any means, especially to the severity and the level that she's feeling this stuff. It's sad, but we have to recognize as a mom community who are here to support each other that we do have moms out there that are struggling, that are drowning.
And motherhood for them is this stressful, really hard thing.
Sure.
So if they're having these strong feelings about the stresses related to it or whatever, how could you diminish it and say, well, but you're a mom, so
like it.
Yes. That is, I think, what we're trying to get unschooled about today. And I'm actually really glad to be able to find these articles because I can't even imagine that they would have, been around in, let's say, my grandma's or even my mother's time.
Because we don't talk about this.
Yes. There's an article in Today's Parent by Liz Krieger that says, I love my kids, but I don't like parenting, and I know I'm not alone. She gives this example of there was a 30-something woman at a party a few years ago who confessed to me that sometimes she thought she'd be a better cool aunt to her kids than an aggrieved parent who, yes, loves them with all her being, but in all honesty just doesn't enjoy the journey that much. She quotes her friend as saying, "It's my fault, not theirs. They're normal, but sometimes I dream about what life would be like without them." But an interesting thing I think the author pointed out, she said, when I mentioned that I was writing this story to some people about not enjoying motherhood, she said, I got a few raised eyebrows, and some people were probably mostly reacting to the relative darkness of the topic. Motherhood is often glorified as this like bright, shiny, happy thing all the time.
And that's what you do. You're a woman. So the normal progression is to have babies. And then you're supposed to absolutely love that job, parenting those children. So we don't talk about it. Those are things that we as individuals, as moms who might be drowning, have to just sit there and drown ourselves because we do not talk about this. Parenting is always defined in almost this butterflies and rainbows kind of mentality, and that's just not fair.
And one thing I thought was super interesting she pointed out was that those women who are willing to talk about that motherhood is not their most favorite thing, she found that they were actually quite more secure in their parenting, which made them willing to talk about it in a more matter-of-fact way because they understand and have accepted the fact that just because this isn't my favorite thing doesn't mean I'm bad at it. It doesn't mean my kid's not going to turn out well. So they're, in an interesting way, actually more secure in their role as parents, even if they don't like it as much. I think that was an interesting distinction she made.
Interesting. I mean, even in our rough days, the days I yell at my kids, or I made a choice I wish I hadn't in terms of rearing these children. I mean, there's been several days I go to bed thinking, man alive, I'm glad I have tomorrow. I can hit reset on this motherhood thing. I'm going to do better tomorrow. I'm going to try my best as a parent tomorrow. It's not easy. It is so hard to be the parent that we want to be, but also the mother that we're almost expected to be. I mean, our society, like you've said, Sarah, has almost glorified the title mother. And man alive, can any of us live up to that? No. If we can get real about how hard this is, and not every moment is perfect, those kids can be ruthless and undisciplined, and we love them, so we have to deal with that. It doesn't mean it has to be our favorite thing to do.
Yes. So she does note there's at least this smaller push to be more like, oh yeah, hashtag mom life, whatever. But that's not enough. What I mean by that
No, because even some of that is staged.
Yes, and what I mean by that is she writes, there's definitely been a rise in she calls the honest mom genre, which often overlaps with this wine-swilling, benignly neglectful mom thing, trying to be sarcastic, right? But she says it's still not honest enough.
No, because if you're the mom who's hiding in the bathtub from her kids with her glass of wine and decides to take a picture and post that on Facebook, that is still not being honest with yourself and not being honest to the world. That you're trying to create humor out of a place where you actually may be feeling pretty dark.
Yep, and she basically says Twitter accounts and social media personalities devote humor over this less joyful parts of parenting. She said, but it's all so couched in good-natured hilarity that for those of us who find ourselves legitimately tearing up, angry, barricaded in the bathroom, and despairing over how we'll get through the day, weeks, and ahead, it doesn't do the trick. She uses a pseudonym for another person she interviewed and says, the truth is parenting is mostly hard and thankless, says Casey Franklin, a fake name, a suburban mom of 2 young girls who works part-time from home. The sheer repetitive monotony of it all is a big part of it for me. Packing lunches, unpacking backpacks out, containers, monitoring schoolwork. I just don't like it. Not that anyone else really gets stoked about those chores, but the social media posturing and the general feeling that you should at least relish in those tasks, it is basically what is the damaging part of it.
Well, yeah, because social media makes us feel like we don't stand a chance anyway. I mean, you see perfect homeschooling classrooms. You see perfect lunches packed for your perfectly clean, perfectly dressed children. It's not fair. We have to be able to separate ourselves from that unhonest place, be honest with ourselves, realize our God-given talents and who we can bring into a parenting place that is positive for our own children, because there's not another family out there that looks the way we do and feels the way we do. So let's be honest with who we are, forget Pinterest boards, and be able to start parenting from a place like that. But you have to first be honest with yourself. Not every moment is going to be amazing in parenting.
Yes, and I love this idea of being honest about it because she cites another person she says that she interviewed who said, parenting is a strange mix of predictability and unpredictability that drives me crazy. It goes against the rules of all the other relationships I have in my life. I think that is a great connection to make because why would you hang out with someone who is being, you're just trying to help them and they're being a jerk to you or throwing themselves on the floor? I would be like, peace out. I'm not, I would never hang around this person otherwise, right? But why?
So we're glutton for punishment. Is that what parenthood is?
And you should like it.
Right.
That's
with a smile on your face.
That's the message. And you better like it.
Right.
There's not a safe space yet to say, yeah, I am a damn good parent and it's not my favorite thing in the world. And she had a refreshing quote from someone else in here that said, parenting is constantly changing for me, but overall I think I'm a solid 70-30 on not liking parenting. This has nothing to do with how much I love my children though. In fact, I stand by a quote I heard that I love my children, especially when I'm not with them.
Fair.
The modern Western experience of motherhood that we are living in right now has not always been. It is a cultural norm that has shifted and changed throughout society. That's why you see shifts in new parenting kind of strategies and ideas with labels like being a helicopter mom and things like that. That is a more recent phenomenon in the history of motherhood in general. A sociology professor at University of Toronto that she quotes says, one of the reasons that women may not find motherhood as the most enjoyable part of their life is that they may have had very interesting educational, work, leisure, or other experiences that they now have to reduce to make room for parenting their children, she says. So you are also in sometimes losing a part of your identity that was very meaningful to you.
You were successful. You strived for this. You worked hard to get where you were, and now you're juggling another ball with parenting. And quite frankly, it takes up a lot of your time. And so it's okay to miss that part of you or a little bit that you have lost. And it's healthy. It's normal.
I like that because she writes in support of what you just said. Another brutal reality about children is that they expose the gulf between our fantasies about family and what we thought it would be basically, and the reality of our old ways of life and how that can feel out of reach and our expectations are way different than reality. It can feel like we have to choose between long-term satisfaction with moment-to-moment happiness, spending our days doing stuff we don't like so that we can have a happy family overall, or because, in translation, you think that's what a happy mom is supposed to do or what a mom is supposed to do.
Yeah, and we see it every day. That if you are a good parent, your house looks like this. Or you've added these activities to your children's schedule. It's damaging. And then the fact that we're not allowed to talk about it. I mean, the social norms are devastating compared to what they were dealing with in the 50s. And I'm excited to talk about that in another episode. But we are dealing with some pretty heavy things in today's day and age. But we can control the social media and the Pinterest that we are allowing into our lives and how we feel about that, as well as the parenting style that is comfortable and works well for our particular family.
To your point, for your particular family, you have to unschool this Norman Rockwell idea of what it means to be a mom. Like you said earlier, I don't know how anyone could meet that expectation in the first place, even if they did like it. And then to throw on top of the fact that maybe you had postpartum depression, maybe your whole experience from being pregnant to giving birth to having an infant kid through teenager has been really hard. So how could you not honor someone's experience that they were having a hard time and it wasn't their favorite thing?
That is so valid. I mean, we talk about this all the time, Sarah. I mean, the reason we've created this podcast is so moms don't feel alone. And here, this is something that is very lonely if we don't address it. We also don't know. We've never walked a mile in those shoes, y'all. We don't know the issues that are coming up. Stressors affect each and every one of us in different ways. In your parenting style, you may or may not like it today. You may or may not like it all the time. Let's not judge.
The breakdown and the assumption is that you must like it to be a good parent.
Right.
If you do not like it, how could you be a good parent?
Right.
And that is not true. I don't have them with me today, but I have read other research that says there is not a correlation between how they rank their enjoyability for being a parent with like how secure in their parenting choices they are, with how their kids turn out, or anything like that.
Right.
Like a good metaphor is almost like you cannot like working out, but you can still do it and be committed to it because you know it's the right thing.
Right.
I've had a lot of friends read this other book called All Joy and No Fun, The Paradox of Modern Parenthood by Jennifer Senior. And one thing I thought that was interesting was that she suggests unhappiness for parents tends to cluster around the early years, then rises again in the fraught teen years. So wait, where's the magic hour, right? Is that between like 7 and 10? You get 36 months of like some joy, and then I don't know. What do you think?
They've always said the bigger the child, the bigger the problem. But I guess we're not talking about the child here. We're talking about the parenting. And yeah, I would say 7 to 10.
Maybe we're on the upswing. I don't know. My point is about getting unschooled about that parenting and particularly motherhood for everyone. It's different, and you have to legitimize the motherhood experiences that people are having, even if you cannot relate to it.
Absolutely.
There are people who have always and only ever wanted to be a parent. There are other people who that was not the case. This is a great quote, too, that kind of talks about that. She says, "To that end, society at large does us no favors for being a parent. According to the Council on Contemporary Families, the largest discrepancy in happiness between non-parents and parents among 22 other countries, with factors like support, vacation, work leaves, and family leaves as some of the structural reasons for this unhappiness." Meaning, you're set up in this system, you're told you're supposed to like it, regardless of whatever support you're given or not.
Everything you've sacrificed.
Yeah, and too bad, so sad. That's the message you want to share with people?
And now work harder because you're not going to have any more vacation time to enjoy that family you've created. Good luck! I do generally like parenting, but it is the hardest job we will ever do. You don't understand what it means until you're doing it. When you're up at 3 a.m. and you're getting puked on, and then everybody's unruly the next day, and you've got sass and backtalk coming at you, and all you did was make a decent meal. It's the hardest thing we will ever do. And so, ladies, we have to be the support for each other that we desperately need.
Thanks for listening to Moms Unschooled.
Subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, or email us at momsunschooled@gmail.com. Juicy!